So let's begin with our motivation. Really rejoicing at our opportunity to be in contact with the Dharma and have the space and time and external resources to explore it, as well as having the internal interest in the Dharma, and knowing that our lives don't last forever and we may not make it to the next Thursday night teaching, because death is definite but its time is indefinite. Then let's really make good use of this opportunity without being distracted, without being lazy, without falling asleep or getting overwhelmed by doubt. Let's be able to focus on the teachings and really take them to heart. And do this with the long-term motivation to realize the nature of reality, combine it with bodhicitta, attain full awakening, and work for the benefit of each and every sentient being, no matter whether we like them or don't like them, to work for their benefit. So it's easy to work for the benefit of the sentient beings we like, isn't it? We like them, usually they like us, so it's very comfortable. You know, it doesn't take an enormous effort, unless of course they want us to do something that's inconvenient. In which case, then they kind of go from the category of sentient beings we like temporarily into the category of sentient beings we don't like, right? You know, they're kind of overall in this category of I like them, but they're wanting me to do something inconvenient, so they kind of go over into this category for a while. And then if they keep wanting me to do something inconvenient, then they stay in that category a long time, until eventually we close down this one. And they're permanently residing in the enemy category. Of course, if they just want us to do something inconvenient that's for a short time, then that, you know, we won't do it, bother with them for that time. But then as soon as they go back into, you know, doing things we like, then we're back into helping them. Right? This is exactly what Karuna does, isn't it? Exactly. You know, when you benefit Karuna, when she's in a good mood and she likes you, you can pet her, she'll purr, she'll do all her cutesy things. Yeah, but the moment we do something Karuna doesn't like, what happens? She bites us. Or she claws, or she runs away, or she hisses. Okay? So she's basically just like us. Isn't it? I remember at my first, you know, the first series of Dharma teachings I went to, when Lama Zopa was talking about helping our friends and harming our enemies, and he said that's no different than animals. And I was so shocked to hear that. Because I thought, oh, helping our friends, you know, that's a nice human quality. But helping our friends and harming our enemies is the same thing that the animals do, really. Isn't it? Yeah? So there's nothing special about being nice to our friends. Because as soon as they do something annoying, then they go into the enemy category and we cease doing anything nice to them at all. And we hiss and we growl. We bite and we claw. Don't don't we? Yeah. So we have to kind of get beyond that to be worthy of being a human being. I mean, remember she talked about that. It was like, oh yeah, you know. I mean, that's the same quality as the animals. If I want to be a human being, I have to do something that the animals don't do. Yeah? Like even help the people I don't like. Oh, forget that. I don't want to do that. You know, if I help the people I don't like, then they'll take advantage of me. Right? They'll take advantage of me. Then I'll look like a fool in front of all my friends. And anyway, I can't stand these people. Why should I do something for them? They should do something for me. And once they do something for me so that I like them, then I'll do something for them. Right? You know, if they need to earn my like, if they want to go from the enemy category into the friend category, they better, you know, clean up their ship and start doing things I like. Yeah, otherwise, you know, why should I do anything for them? Yeah? And I mean, this is the way we think, and this is the way most worldly people think. Isn't it? Yeah? And then we wonder why there's so many problems in the world and so much conflict and why people don't get along. You know, we can't look past this. You know, we're stuck at the tip of our nose. And all we can do is look at superficial appearances of sentient beings. You know, whether they please me or displease me in this very minute. We can't look any further, you know, into their hearts and see, oh, this is a living being just like me who wants to be happy and who doesn't want to suffer. We can't make that leap to look in their hearts. We're just stuck at how they relate to me. Mm-hmm. It's really kind of sad, isn't it? You know? I mean, we tend to look outside and say, oh, this situation is sad, this situation is sad. But the state of our mind is sometimes pretty sad. Isn't it? Yeah? So I think this is one of the beautiful things, you know, it's like the Buddha pointed this out to us. Yeah, the state of your mind is pretty sad, kid. And we have to say, you're right. And then, what do I do about it? Okay? So when your mind is all mixed up with friend and enemy, and this person's asking me to do something I don't want to do, and they're inconveniencing me, and they're being a pain in the neck, then what do you meditate on to get your mind out of that state? Equanimity. How do you meditate on equanimity?
When we've done meditations on equanimity, we try and picture a person that we like, that we are kind of neutral towards, and then an enemy, and we think of the basis with which we designate those three, and see the kind of common thread by which we make that designation.
Right, yeah. So the way we meditate on equanimity, we visualize someone we like, someone we don't like, a friend, an enemy, a stranger, and then we ask ourselves, you know, why are the people in these three categories? How did they get there? Yeah, because our usual attitude is they put themselves there through their behavior. They are objectively a friend, objectively an enemy, objectively neutral. But that's not true, is it? Yeah, because the person we think is marvelous, somebody else can't stand. And the person we can't stand, somebody else thinks is fantastic. So all that stuff is just coming from conceptualizations in our mind, wrong conceptualizations. Yeah. And so all these wrong kind of conceptualizations really, they really make us quite unhappy in our lives, you know. But the good news is we can eliminate them. Yeah, and when we do the meditation like you described, you know, we begin to dismantle these conceptualizations, and we begin to look past just the superficial appearance of somebody or just past the superficial relationship and into their heart and see that they're exactly like us. They want to be happy and they don't want to suffer. Yeah. So this includes all the politicians, yeah, all of Wall Street, yeah, all the animals and insects, yeah, even those yellow jackets that are flying around the meditation hall or flying around our lunch today. Yeah, it includes all of them. You know, we're all basically in the same boat. We don't need to build walls. Okay, so this is a very important meditation to keep coming back to again and again and again. You know, you may find in your practice that there are some meditations that you really need to do on a very regular basis just to keep your mind balanced. Yeah, just to keep your mind on some kind of even keel. Yeah? And so, if you know, this one I think is one that might be like that. Yeah, and I find for myself this one, the meditation on the kindness of others, and the meditation on impermanence and death are ones that are really helpful to do repeatedly, you know. I mean, they say to do a glance meditation each day where we review all the different meditations on the stages of the path. So that's quite helpful. And then amongst that, you know, there's a few to really keep in mind all the time. So you may find, you know, figure out which ones are the ones for you that just help you to remain kind of stable instead of being like a ship in a storm, you know.
But we also have to turn to ourselves, right? So because when somebody is in himself herself kind of stable and equal and accept themselves, then they can easier relate to others like this. When we watch people who have more harmonious character, they are more stable and accept themselves how they are, then they act and they act like this.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that when we accept ourselves, it becomes more easier to have equanimity towards others. Yeah, that's true.
So loving kindness also with ourselves.
Huh?
Loving kindness also with ourselves. So
Yes, definitely. It says towards all sentient beings.
Yeah.
And the equanimity also applies to all sentient beings. So we should have a feeling of equanimity for ourselves too, instead of, you know, I'm the worst one, I'm the best one. All these kind of self-judgments too.
A feeling of affection.
Yes, definitely a feeling of affection. Yeah. And,
You mean affection for oneself or?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, affection for ourselves and affection for others. It's important. Yeah, unless you want to hate everybody.
I was thinking.
You know, if that's your, you know, I mean, it's a free world. If you want to hate everybody, go ahead. But just see what the outcome is. Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering if you could talk a bit about cherishing the happiness of others above our own.
Okay.
Because I sometimes confuse that with, you know, working to making someone like me.
Right, okay. So, cherishing others' happiness above our own, okay? So, because it gets confusing with pleasing somebody so that they'll like us. Yeah. So this is the whole thing. What's the motivation for cherishing somebody else? Yeah. Is it because I want them to like me? Yeah. That's often what it is, you know, isn't it? It's often, I want them to like me, or it's somebody that I really like, you know, that I'm close to, so it's very easy to cherish them because they make me happy and our lives are intertwined and interrelated, and, you know, so there's a lot of I and that kind of stuff. When we're really practicing cherishing others, it has to be done on the basis of equanimity, where we're not putting people into categories and we're able to look at them as just sentient beings who are all similar, wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. And when we think that we're all equal, you know, us, our friends, our enemies, strangers, you know, we're all equal, wanting happiness and not wanting suffering, then, you know, if there's the opportunity to work for happiness, it doesn't matter whose happiness it is, because we're all equal. And what is the happiness that...
My tree is not happy.
Huh? Bring her up here.
What she said? Not happy. I think she might have done that.
Yeah. So, you know, when we have a feeling of equanimity towards friends, enemies, and strangers, and ourselves, then it becomes easier to benefit others, because we don't have the mind of, well, what can I do that's going to earn me brownie points? Instead, we have the mind of, we're all equal, and here's the opportunity to benefit. Does that make some sense to you? Yeah? Okay. So, something to bear in mind about our lives. So, we're actually going to move on today and go back to this list of phenomena. Yeah, we've had a very busy day with the ordination today and the talks of the nuns, and now we're going to get into some philosophy. Maitri's saying, I don't know about the philosophy. Okay, so we were talking here about, did we get to the changeable mental factors? We stopped just before those, okay. So when we talk, you know, about the selfless, there's non-existent and existent. When we talk about the existent, there's two categories, impermanent and permanent. Impermanent is synonymous with composite, with product, with functioning thing. Okay? Within the category of impermanent, or the category of things, there's three: form, consciousness, and abstract composites. Within the second one of consciousness, there's two kinds: primary consciousness that knows the general field of the object, and then mental factors that perform specific functions within that. So when you have a consciousness, you have a primary mind and certain mental factors that accompany it. So they all come together, they're all the same nature. You know, they have if you have a cognition, the primary mind and its accompanying mental factors have the same object, the same time, the same nature. Okay? They're the same in being virtuous or non-virtuous. So we went through some of the mental factors, the omnipresent ones, the abstract ascertaining ones, virtuous ones, the 6 root afflictions, the 20 auxiliary afflictions, and now we're at the 4 changeable mental factors. The 4 are called changeable because depending upon other mental factors that accompany that cognition, when these 4 are present in a mental state, the mental state could either be virtuous or non-virtuous. Okay, so the first one we have here is sleep. So sleep can be virtuous if we go to bed with a virtuous motivation. So this is why it's very important, you know, like to imagine the Buddha and think you're putting your head in the Buddha's lap, and to do purification before you go to bed so that your mind's in a neutral or a virtuous state, so that, you know, your mind, you sleep well, your mind is peaceful, and you know, there's no non-virtue going on in your dreams. Okay, so sometimes when we have nightmares, it could be that, you know, there's some non-virtuous attitude going on in our mind, but often it could also be a ripening of negative karma. So often when you're doing strong purification, you can have nightmares. So just see them as, okay, that's that karma, you know, ripening and finishing and goodbye. And if during the nightmare you're doing something non-virtuous, when you wake up, then confess, you know, and it's not a full non-virtuous object because there was no real object there. It was a dream, but still it's very good to say when you wake up, okay, I don't want to ever do that kind of thing, and I want to purify any kind of seeds or tendencies that I have to get involved in that behavior, even though I just did it only in a dream. Okay? So, you know, if we do some purification before we go to bed and you know, think of the Buddha and so on, then it's much easier for our sleep to be virtuous. If we go to bed and we're just in a bad mood, it's like, I'm so exhausted, why did they keep me up so late doing this? I wanted to go to bed. You know, and you fall into bed like that, then that's kind of a non-virtuous state, isn't it? Yeah. When I go to bed, I don't know, I always feel very grateful for being able to sleep in safety, you know? And so I always think about, may all sentient beings, when they go to bed, may they feel safe. May they feel safe physically. May they feel safe emotionally. Yeah? But then also not just limit it to that kind of worldly happiness, but then also may they, you know, have the ultimate safety of nirvana. Yeah? So try and think some kind of benevolent thought, you know, after you lie down before you go to bed. It's very helpful for making the sleep virtuous. Mm-hmm.
For a while I was doing this. I was doing the 3 motivations when I, you know, tried to when I woke up, but then also before.
Right, yeah, that's very good. So there's 3 motivations: not to harm, to benefit, to hold bodhicitta. Yeah. If you have highest class Tantra initiation, you can do the death absorption at that time. Or just, you know, like our refuge guidelines, it says take refuge 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening, so take refuge before you go to bed. Okay? And then really think, you know, I'm going to sleep so I can rest my body so I can get up tomorrow morning and practice. Not I'm going to sleep because I'm just completely exhausted. I'm fed up with these people who are driving me crazy. Just leave me alone. Do you ever go to sleep like that?
No, sure.
Oh, no, never? Oh, that's why you're laughing now, huh?
Yeah, it's recognizable.
Yeah, yeah. It is. Yeah. Okay, so sleep is one of them. Regret is another one. Okay, so depending upon what we regret, regret can be virtuous or non-virtuous. If we've done some kind of virtuous action and then we regret it, that regret is non-virtuous. Yeah, you know, you gave a donation and then you go, oh my God, I shouldn't have given this donation. Now I don't have enough money to go on holiday myself. Yeah, why did I give so much money to them? I don't need to do that. So you regret the donation, then that becomes non-virtuous regret. Okay. Oh, I helped that person. Why did I help that person? They're such an idiot. They never repay their kindness to me. Yeah, so you regret having helped. So that kind of regret is non-virtuous. Or it could be virtuous regret when we regret our non-virtuous actions. You know, so that's the kind of regret when we do the 4 opponent powers in the evening that we want to have. Okay, and then the last two, investigation and scrutiny, or sometimes it's translated investigation and analysis. Investigation is looking at the general characteristics of something, and then scrutiny or analysis is looking at the more specific characteristics of something. So depending upon what we're investigating and scrutinizing, if we're sitting there scrutinizing the faults of somebody, let me investigate their faults. Well, in general, they have these ones, and in specific, these. Then those, your investigation and scrutiny become non-virtuous. If we're meditating on karma, let's say, and we're trying to discern what's virtuous and non-virtuous karma, okay, or we're looking at our behavior and scrutinizing, what's virtuous and non-virtuous in our behavior, then even if we're able to scrutinize and we see something's non-virtuous, the fact that we're scrutinizing because we want to find out, that's something virtuous, isn't it? Okay? So in these kind of changeable mental factors, we want to be aware of what we're doing, because that's going to make them either something to practice or something to abandon. Okay, then the third category of functioning things is called abstract composites. Okay, or Jeffrey's old translation was non-associated compositional factors. That's kind of a literal translation. They're non-associated, meaning they're not form and they're not consciousness, the first two categories, but they are impermanent things, so they're composites. But I think abstract composites is shorter. So, yeah. So there's two broad categories of abstract composites. One is persons, and the other are non-persons. Okay, so with persons, I, me, them, we're all people. The beings of the 6 realms are all persons, so animals, insects, hell beings, humans, gods, those are all persons. Our profession, if you're doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, manual laborer, professional, whatever you do, those occupations, because you're giving the name to a person. It's the occupation. It's a person, okay? Cats are people, like if we talk about Maitri and community and Karuna, they fall under persons, okay? So anything that refers to a person is a person. Yeah, Buddha's a person. Okay. Stream enters, non-returners, they're persons. Bodhisattvas are persons. Okay. Then the non-person compositional factors are other compositional factors that are not persons. And most of them are kind of states of being. So they are called designations to states. And so the Vaibhasika talk about 23 of these, well, no, actually, this is, maybe this list is according to Satantrika, actually. But it's a common list that people share. I think it's Satantrika. So they talk about 23 designations to states, but I think there's all sorts of other things that are impermanent phenomena, that aren't forms, that aren't consciousnesses. Like, what is democracy? Yeah, to me it must be an abstract composite, because it's not form and it's not a consciousness. Okay. So what is an educational degree? Unless it's not really the piece of paper, it's something else. So that must be one of these abstract composites too. So I think this is just a grab bag for other things, but they delineate 23 specific ones. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these from Meditation on Emptiness. These 23 are not so easy to understand, so we're going to go quickly. Okay, the first one is called acquisition. Is designated to a state of the increase and decrease of virtues and so forth, of which there are two types: finding acquisition, which is a new attainment of such increase or decrease, and possessive acquisition, which is the retention of it. And acquisition, I think it's either the Vipassika or the Sautrantika, this is how they talk about karma. Acquisition is this, how they talk about you get an acquisition when you do a deed. Okay, so this increase or decrease of virtue, that's the acquisition. And so they say the acquisition is what connects the cause to the result. Yeah, so they don't talk about jigpa. Okay, but jigpa would definitely fall in this category too. Okay, then the second one is absorption without discrimination, is designated to a state involving a lack of the coarse feelings and discriminations associated with the third concentration and below. Okay, so we were talking about the four concentrations, or the four jhanas, and then above them you have the four formless absorptions. So with the first three jhanas, there's coarse feelings and discriminations, and absorption without discrimination is the name referring to a state involving the lack of those, which are, associated with the third concentration and above and below. Oh, okay, did I read this right? Okay, absorption without discrimination is designated to a state involving the lack of the coarse feelings and discriminations associated with the third concentration and below. So this is going to be starting with the fourth jhana and above. Okay? It is produced in dependence on the fourth jhana by common beings only. So it's a certain kind of mental absorption that based on the fourth jhana you can generate. Absorption of cessation is designated to a state achieved only by Aryas, in which there is the lack of the coarse feelings and discriminations associated with the peak of cyclic existence and below. Okay, so that's an absorption of cessation. I think you have eliminated all the coarse mental faculties, and they say feeling and discrimination especially, but this is attained only by Aryas. Okay. And then next one is one having no discrimination, is designated to the state of a person born among the gods in the condition of being without coarse feelings and discriminations. Okay, so that's a samsaric rebirth without coarse feelings and discriminations. Life faculty, what?
Is that the form realm gods then?
No, they have feelings and discriminations. This might be the kind of perceptionless God, the gods, they say, that just don't have any perceptions, like one of the 8 unfree states in the precious human life is this kind of God with no perceptions. I think this is that one. So then the next one is called life faculty or life, and that's designated to the state of living. It is the basis of consciousness and warmth. Next one is similarity of type, is designated to the state or condition of likeness. So things have a similarity of type. Birth, or also called production, aging, duration, and impermanence are designated to states of the characteristics of things. So things are arising, they're aging, they're abiding, they're impermanent. Okay, those qualities are all abstract composites. And then there's a number of them that pertain to sounds and language. So group of stems, group of words, and group of letters are designated to various states of verbal conventions. So that's interesting, because what is a word? Is a word a sound? Is a word the written thing? You know, here words are considered abstract phenomena because they're symbols for a specific meaning. They're not just the word, they're not just the written, they're not just the sound, I mean, and they're not the written thing. Okay? Stems are bare names without case endings, etc., whereas words are stems with case endings. Yeah, that pertains to languages like Pali and Sanskrit, where you change the end of the word to indicate the kind of case that it's in. We do it through the position in the sentence and prepositions and things like that. State of an ordinary being is designated to one who has not attained the qualities of superiors. Okay. And the Vaibhasikas substitute non-acquisition for this category and do not assert the remaining 9, limiting their presentation of abstract composites to 14. Okay, so the above, so then the rest must be Sautrantika and the other schools, the higher schools. Continuity is designated to the non-interrupted state of a continuum of causes and effects. Distinction is of 3 types. Distinction of the particular and the general. Okay, so distinguishing, you know, particular and general. Distinction of virtue and non-virtue, and distinction of pleasure and pain. And I'm sorry, I goofed. The first one is the distinction of particular and general. The second distinction is virtue and negativities on one side and pleasure and pain on the other. So call it, you know, virtue and non-virtue, and then the pleasure and pain that they produce. So distinguishing those. And then the distinction of causes and effects. Those are the 3 kinds of distinctions. Relatedness is of 3 types. So means, which is the collection of, for instance, an artisan's tools. So when you talk about relationship, tools or instruments, the means, how you do something, the kind of relationship. Aggregation, which is a collection of causes, but specifically their reliance on each other within their collection. And suitability, which is each thing's having its own function. These are types of relatedness. Rapidity is designated to a condition of the arising of effects immediately after their causes, and to the speed caused by persons, magical emanations, and so forth. Rapidity, speed.
Caused by persons?
Yeah. It's designated to the condition of the arising of effects immediately after their causes. So when effects ripen immediately after causes, we call it fast. Okay, and it also refers to the speed caused by persons, emanations, and magical emanations, and so forth, like when you run somewhere. Okay, order is designated to the serial state of former or latter, high and low, and so forth. So counting numbers, high and low, any kind of order or sequence. Because you think of what is a sequence? It's not form, it's not consciousness, it is impermanent. Okay, it's got to be an abstract composite. Time is designated to the states of past, present, and future. Okay. Area is designated to the composite of a place and the persons therein. Okay. Number is designated to a condition of measure. Collection is designated to the state of a complete collection of causes, specifically to that completeness. Okay, so collections, we're having a meeting. All the, the meeting, the collection of people. Okay, is that. Or we have a, the basket full of plums. Yeah, the plums are form, but when we're talking about the collection of the plums, yeah, the collection is abstract composite. Okay, if you want to go over these are in Meditation on Emptiness, page 268, the section begins. Okay, yeah.
Do you think that labels go with this one called groups of words?
Yeah, I think labels refers to the words that we're talking about. Yeah. But for example, when Prasangikas say things exist by being merely labeled, they don't mean that the object is the label. Yeah, because a label is a word. Yeah, and a word's a compositional abstract composite. Okay. So that is a rough presentation of existence and non-existence. Yeah. There are different presentations. When we do the tenet system, we'll have a different, the Vaipasika have a different, slightly different presentation. But still, I think this is very good to help us start thinking about these things. Because it really fits in when we meditate on emptiness. So for example, when we're investigating, how does the person exist? When we say I, how do I exist? Then we have to see, are we any of these categories of phenomena? Yeah? Because when we say if the person exists, it's got to be either, one or different from, usually we say the aggregates. So here we have a list, especially when we talk about the forms, form and consciousnesses. Those include the 5 aggregates, and persons. Person is included in the 5 aggregates too. But we start investigating all the aggregates to see if we're one of the aggregates or, some part of the aggregates, or what's the relationship between the person and the aggregates. Yeah, so it's very important to know these things so that we can know where to investigate. Yeah, it's like, if you're trying to find a horse and it's in a field, you have to know what the fields are, where to go looking for them. Yeah, if you don't know what the fields are, where the horse may be, then you're going to have a hard time looking for it. Okay? So if you're going to see, does the I exist, is the same with any of the aggregates, then we have to look at all these different things. And it's very interesting to watch, because sometimes when we're in a bad mood, we feel I am union oneness with my bad mood. Don't we? I am my bad mood. I am nothing more than my bad mood. Yeah? That's the way we feel sometimes. Yeah, my bad mood is me, or my anger is me. Yeah? Or when we get caught in this thing of putting ourselves down, I'm so terrible, and we have all these things that we think we are, then we think, oh, that's what I am. I'm insufficient, I'm inadequate, I'm stupid, I'm whatever. So it's very interesting when we're doing the meditation on emptiness, to question those and say, is the I, okay, the I, the person, yeah, that which is, labeled independence upon the body and mind, is it the exact same thing as stupidity? Yeah. Is it the exact same thing as inadequacy? Is it the exact same thing as ugly? Is it the exact same thing as bad mood? Yeah. If you were your bad mood, then it means you're always in a bad mood. So even when you're happy, you would be in a bad mood. Or it would mean you can never be happy because you're always in a bad mood, even when you're sleeping. Yeah. Are you your bad mood? Are you your anger? Okay. So this is important to question, because often, especially with that mind that puts ourselves down, we just think, oh, I am this, I'm union oneness with it. But if, okay, we sit there and say, I'm so terrible, I'm unlovable. Okay, so if I were the quality of unlovable, that means that when I say I'm walking, it would mean unlovable is walking. Can an unlovable walk? Do you see? It's very interesting when we get stuck, and our mind's really grasping at things the wrong way, to do this kind of analysis, because we're feeling, oh, I am that. But if you were that, then, then every time you say the word I, it would refer to that. It would mean anger is walking, and greed is walking, and unlovability is walking. Yeah. Or unlovability is thinking. Yeah. Or, unlovability is happy. Unlovability is sad. We see that how we grasp the person to exist is really wrong. When we equate ourselves with some equality, we're holding on to, the person as existing in a totally erroneous way. It can't possibly exist this way. Or when we think, I'm my body and my body's ugly, or my body's old, or my body's weak, or my body's whatever we don't like about our body. If you think, I'm my body, then what part of your body? Are you your brain, your little toe, your spleen? Yeah. When you meet Buddha Boy and you say, I love him, is he his body? You put that spleen out there. Wow, what a spleen. What a good-looking spleen. He really understands me. Yeah? Who is this? We're thinking that there's a true findable person there. Yeah, so look, and and that, wow, that spleen is just too much. Okay? Yeah.
I have a lot of difficulty with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have that kind of body because of my karma.
Mm-hmm.
I have that kind of all emotion because of my karma.
Mm-hmm.
I got attracted and got born in that body because of all my stuff. So I'm carrying that stuff.
No.
That's why I get...
Okay, so you say, I got born in this body from my previous karma. I have all my confused mental states and misery because of my previous karma. So I am these things. Yeah. Sorry, kiddo, you aren't those things.
That's
yeah.
Detached from.
Right. It's hard to detach from because our wrong conception mind grasps onto things with all its might, even though what it grasps onto is wrong and false and doesn't exist in that way. We're like a person who You know, you go like this and you see two moons in the sky, and no matter how much somebody tries to tell you there's one moon, you say there's two moons, and you won't listen to anybody else. It's complete wrong conception mind that we just grasp onto and believe, and it's total nonsense. Because when you do this kind of analysis, how could you be any of those things? Yeah?
But why I have to work on them?
Because they cause you suffering. They aren't who you are, but they still cause you suffering. Yeah, and you want to be happy, and you deserve to be happy. Yeah, so we want to eliminate the causes of our suffering, don't we? And the thing is, I mean, to really realize the causes of our suffering are not who we are. Yeah? I mean, this is so important. We have to loosen that wrong grasping in our mind that has this negative view of ourselves and just holds on to it forever. Yeah? Because that wrong view of ourselves is as incorrect as your fairy godmother and the boogeyman and weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They are all non-existent. Okay? But we've invented things that we think this is who I am. Yeah. And so this analysis of, you know, well, what exactly is the I? How does the I really exist? Yeah. So especially when we feel sorry for ourselves, we have this view of the self. Oh, these are my circumstances. I am union one with these lousy circumstances. I'm deficient. I'm incapable. Yeah? So, you know, you have to really ask, is the person those qualities? Because that would mean every time you use the word I, you would be referring to those qualities. Because if the person is inherently existent, it would have to be either inherently one with those qualities or inherently separate. If it's inherently one, then I and those qualities are synonymous. There's absolutely no difference between them. Yeah? But when you think about it, yeah, those qualities aren't doing everything. Every time we use the word I, we aren't referring to those qualities. Those qualities are not who we are. Yeah. Communicating? Does that make you feel happy to know that you aren't those qualities? It should make you feel happy. Yeah? Isn't it nice not to be those things? One part of your mind is thinking, oh, she's just saying that. She doesn't know I really am that.
Well, what's really weird, Venerable, is that, you know, you've been talking about this for a long time, but then something will happen in my mind where I get really upset, and my mind doesn't want to have this discussion.
Right.
So stupid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh, come on.
Yeah. So when we get really entrenched in our thing, even you hear this kind of discussion, you're like, leave me alone. Let me sit here and sulk in peace. Yeah? Don't challenge my self-image. I'm so happy sitting here sulking.
So,
Yeah, it's comfortable, isn't
you're
it?
talking about this all the time. When anger arises in your mind, do you immediately go, you know, or just,
What do you do?
let's...
Well, it's very interesting to say, who's angry?
And are you immediately curious?
Yeah.
Great!
Like, you know, who really is this person that's angry? There's the mental factor of anger, Okay, there's a mental factor of anger, but who is the person that is angry? I'm not that mental factor. Yeah. Or somebody says something nasty towards me, you know, then who's that person they're talking about? Who are they talking about? Yeah, which one of my aggregates are they talking about? What are they insulting? They're insulting my mental factor of greed. That's okay. They can insult my mental factor of greed. I agree with them. Yeah, but my mental factor of greed is not who I am. So when you think like that, then you realize you don't need to take everything so personally. You know, that everything, even somebody says you are beep, 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 you know, you don't need to take it like I am inherently this and nothing else. Okay.
You're venerable, that's where I want to feel real. I want to feel existent. That anger, that hurt, that oversensitivity, that greed makes me feel real.
Yep, sure does, doesn't it?
And I have a lot invested in being real.
Yep,
Yeah.
we do. We have a lot invested in being real. Because it's so scary to think we don't exist. Because we posit it as either we're real or we're totally non-existent. So there you have the two extremes. Inherent existence, total non-existence. Okay, so you know, we're doing all this Dharma study. Why are we doing this Dharma study? Why are we studying all these different categories and lists and things of stuff?
To educate my eye.
Yeah. You know, we're doing it for a purpose. It isn't just, you know, oh, this is Dharma and it's fun and it's interesting, or the Buddha said this, or, you know, we're learning these things to be able to apply it, to really, you know, do something useful. And, you know, who is this I? You know, like my mother used to say, who do you think you are? Just, she really had it, you know. Yeah, just who do I think I am? When I'm offended and I'm insulted and my feelings are hurt, who do I think I am? Who is this person that's offended and insulted and hurt? You know, find that person. Find that person and draw a line around that person. Yeah, can you find that? There's a voice inside screaming, "Ah, yeah." But is that voice you?
I feel her.
But is that feeling the totality of you?
And you can even, I'm thinking of an incident where I felt insulted recently, and there's all these moments during the day where I completely forget it, I don't care about it, because, and then it comes, and then it's like,
Right.
and I go through the whole thing again and get upset again. But those are just some moments, and then one's like 23.75 hours. I have nothing to do with that.
Right.
So who's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it comes and there's a big eye there that's just that 0.25, and it's really grasping at what that person said.
Yeah.
So what you just said was very helpful. Like that person was talking about some mental factor that kind of floated by, and you know, it was there. I don't like it either, but it's not here now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So,
You know.
God, I'm
That-
just making it solid because I keep going over it.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. The person said something once. We remember it again and again and again and again. Yeah. Okay, so that's why we're studying this whole topic, because it's giving us a way to understand how our mind operates. You know, that's the whole thing. We're learning this structure so that we have some kind of structure to use to understand what's going on inside. Yeah, we just went through all those different mental factors very quickly, but still it helps us, it gives us labels to identify some of our emotions with and to start discriminating, okay, what's virtuous, what's non-virtuous. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, here, mental factor of sleep, is it virtuous or non-virtuous? Or neutral?
She's listening to the Dharma.
She's listening to the Dharma, she sure is. So by the power of the virtuous object, she's getting some good karmic seeds. So what are karmic seeds?
Abstract.
They're abstract composites. Yeah.
Is that the same for like social identities? Are those compositional factors as well? Like say I am American.
No, American would be a person. Singaporean would be a person.
Out of the 5 aggregates, is that
That,
compositional?
yeah, because the compositional factors is mostly mental factors, but it also includes persons. Okay? Because the 5 aggregates includes everything that's impermanent. Okay? Leave your bad moods at the doorstep. Venerable Sumpton got her green card today, but she didn't get a green card for her bad moods. They can't be a permanent resident. She can be a permanent resident, but not her bad moods.
What are you trying to tell me, Venerable Chode?
What?
What are you trying to tell me? Who are you talking to?
Why didn't you answer that question?
I've got it.
Okay, let's dedicate.